What is going on, everybody? I am back today because if you haven't seen recently, I've been going back and rewatching some Pixar films because it's put me in a good mood, and I've really just enjoyed revisiting a lot of these films that I appreciated a lot when I was younger. And one of the things I love about Pixar is anytime I revisit one of the films, I feel like I get something new out of it, and I find something new to appreciate about it. And I watched all four of the Toy Story films, and I also watched A Bug's Life. And so today I thought it would be fun to revisit a film that I watched a ton when I was growing up that was just an absolute favorite of mine. And I'm looking forward to discussing it with you today. And that film is Monsters, Inc. Monsters, Inc. is directed by Pete Docter. James Sullivan and Mike Wazowski are monsters. They earn their living scaring children and are the best in the business, even though they're more afraid of the children than they are of them. When a child accidentally enters their world, James and Mike suddenly find that the kids are not to be afraid of, and they uncover a conspiracy that could threaten all children across the world. So, as I said, this was a favorite of mine when I was growing up. I absolutely loved this movie, just so much about it that I really appreciated a lot. And I loved it just as much this time around. It was so much fun to rewatch this movie as an adult and just kind of see what more I could get out of it. And I'm excited to tell you a little bit about it today when I break the movie down. This film is about two iconic Pixar characters, Mike and Sully, who work for Monsters Incorporated, which they live in this city that is filled with monsters. Monsters Inc. is the focal point of the city. It is a business that specializes in scaring. And the reason why they specialize in scaring is because they found that in order to power their city, they have to scare children, get the screams of children when they scare them, and it powers the electricity in their city. Sulley, voiced by John Goodman, is one of the best of the best. He is constantly at the top of the leaderboard as the best scarer in the entire Monstropolis, and Mike Wazowski is his partner who sets up the doors for him and files all his paperwork, and the two of them are really close friends. And there's this elaborate system that they've set up where essentially it's these doors that they call to this station, they fall into this frame, and it gives these monsters access to go into a child's room to scare them. And so at the beginning of the film, everything is all peachy keen, but there's rumors around the facility that they're not going to have as much energy. They're trying to conserve energy because kids just aren't getting scared the same way anymore. Well, one day after a very long shift, Mike forgets to get some paperwork and says, "Hey, I've got to go on this date for my girlfriend's birthday. Can you go grab this paperwork for me?" So Sully says, "Yes, I'll go take care of it." He goes back there and he finds a door sitting in a station that someone has not sent back. And he sees Randall, voiced by Steve Buscemi, messing around back there. And he's not 100% sure what's going on. He opens the door, doesn't see a child in there. And when he leaves, there's a child on his back, and that child is Boo. And as we learn in this Monsters universe, they're horrified of children. If you're even touched by an article of clothing that is in a children's room, you are decontaminated. It's one of the funniest sequences in the film. And so Sully gets Boo, and he's absolutely horrified. Shortly comes to find out that there's nothing really to be afraid of from these children. And the entire film is him and Mike trying to figure out what is going on at Monsters Inc. What are they doing with these doors after hours? So as I said, I really love this movie. And I think what this shows is just how incredible of an animation company Pixar was early on in their career, because they specialize in simplicity. They create these really elaborate worlds that are so detailed with unique characters that are really fascinating to look at, but the storylines as a whole are incredibly simplistic. And there's more that you can unpack underneath the surface, but just as a film to experience, it's just a fun adventure story. Sully obviously is incredibly talented at his job, and he's been scaring these kids for so long, but he meets Boo and his entire perception of children changes, and he's this really tough, scary guy who ends up becoming a softie throughout the movie because he realizes that kids are very innocent and they're fragile, and he learns more about the human world through his experience with Boo. And then there's this whole idea of businesses and how businesses hide things from the consumers and even from the people who work in the business, and why why do they use screams? Why are they doing this thing? And when the business starts to fall apart, the seedy things that the owner of the business tries to do in order to meet their quotas. And I think, obviously, as a whole for the film, you don't have to see any of that and really unpack it any deeper. But I think it is interesting for adults to watch that and have a film about a gross corporation that takes advantage of its employees, which honestly, Disney is kind of doing that right now with the writers' strike. So it's funny to me, but at the same time, it's thought provoking when you're watching the movie. And despite that, you can erase all of that, and it's just a really fun movie. I think the humor is pitch perfect in this. I think Billy Crystal and John Goodman play off of each other so well. There are a ton of incredibly talented voice actors that show up in this. I love the animation style in this. Similar to A Bug's Life and early Toy Story, you can see a little bit of rough around the edges where Pixar would tidy that up later in their career when the technology advanced. But I do think this movie has a very unique visual style, and I love that each one of the monsters is detailed in really unique ways. And it's fun to see kind of how the production company has grown and where they've started. And Monsters Inc. is a really cool example of that. This is one of those movies that I have a smile on my face the entire time I watch it. I just really love the characters. I think it's just really wholesome and a really beautiful, simple story. And I had a lot of fun revisiting it this time around. And if you haven't seen Monsters Inc. in a while, or if you've never seen Monsters Inc., you should go watch it because it is a ton of fun. So if you've seen Monsters Inc., did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was amazing. I absolutely love Monsters Inc. I always enjoy this movie, and I'm always looking forward to rewatching it whenever I get the chance to. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.